Hey, that was something. Hey there, thanks for joining this dual live stream on Mr. C Dives In and the Fanboy Cantina. I just got my act together 5 seconds ago. So thanks for tuning in. How you doing, Mr. C?
Just enjoying this Saturday morning, late Saturday morning, early Saturday afternoon vibe. The Stranger Things era was the era where you're watching Saturday morning cartoons and such, and so we're trying to ride that tone, ride that wave. Good to be here. Happy to be conversing with you, Fanboy G.
I think we're still within happy to be here with you too, Mr. C. I think we're still within the allowable time frame to wish people a happy new year. So happy new year if you're watching live, or if you're watching later, happy new year. It's great to get back together. It's been a long time since the last live stream that I've done on this channel. I know that on your channel, Mr. C, you have a more regular rotation. So this is not like riding a bike for me, man. It's a little rusty. So,
Well,
yeah.
the rust and rust response process are important things to go through in one's time. I see we got some comments here.
Well,
We
let's
can
dive in.
kick the comments and then start our chat.
Okay. Am I clicking or are you clicking?
I'll click. Let's go.
Okay, let's go.
Right here. We'll go out of chronological order. It was a great final, and in the top 5, animals and Legos. Thanks. That's a super cool comment. Welcome to hanging out. Yeah, we'll give thoughts on the positives and things we liked, and maybe now let's kick. Junkyard says go Bears, and according to Larry David. Well, okay, so if we're all going to live by Larry David rules, we're going to live in a certain kind of a timeline and a certain kind of a world. So we're just going to rebel against the Larry David process at that time. Chai-Star is chiming in with we're alive. Chai-Star always has to open us up with a let's go. And once again, as is part of the tradition, Chai-Star will have no idea what we were talking about, but let's do this. And then go, can we take a second to say how cool the Fanboy Cantina design thumbnail is for this very show in which we are communicating right now? Most impressive thumbnail. Fanboy G, take us begin us on the journey. On a yellow brick road, there is a first yellow brick. Let us now set foot upon these first bricks and walk the path.
All right. Well, to start us off, and thank you for the kudos on the thumbnail. That was the one part that I could actually successfully pull off for this thing. Let's talk about early or initial impressions, just the short version of the finale episode. What did you think, Mr. C?
It was a longer episode than the others. So for comic book reference, it is the equivalent of getting, or magazine reference, the equivalent of getting a double-sized special double issue kind of a setup. Many different opinions have been expressed about many aspects of it. For me, would I have been good paying theater money to go see this at the theater? Absolutely. I found it a completely enjoyable experience and an excellent wrap up to the overall, to all 5 seasons, to the series finale, not just the season finale. So I was on board with it.
You know, I'm noticing that my glasses are all jacked up too here. So I'm like firing on zero cylinders, right? Maybe if I tilt my head this way, oh man. Anyways, for me, I thought that the finale was really strong. I did enjoy the finale. I have some criticisms that we'll get into, I think, pretty quickly about season 5 as a whole, but the finale kind of redeemed a lot of the issues that I had with the broader season. And I very much appreciated the epilogue piece, how it ended. Perhaps a little bit long, a little bit stretched out compared to the battle of against the Mind Flayer, which seems a little bit short. But yeah, overall, I thought it went very well. I was entertained. Oh, and hello there.
Mandarin is dropping in with the yo. Did they
Seal the Hanmon. Yes, that would be a different show. Yes.
Similar concept, though, I gotta say. Similar concept, gotta say. Mandarin is saying, Mandarin, just like Chai Star, has not watched Stranger Things, but it's on the list. So, hey, Mandarin, we're going to go spoilers. It's to your discretion, Mandarin. Or you're more than welcome to hang out, but just know that there will be some spoiler material that we will speak on. And always the chat has its side chat to the main conversation, which is our history and our way of doing business.
Exactly right. All right. So overall, I think we have good feelings about the finale episode. What did you think of season 5 as a whole?
Yeah. Okay. So let's go format first, because it was the Netflix tradition or the Netflix innovation to drop an entire series all at once. Here, go at it. And the whole binge watch phenomenon it had a good vibe. It created a good pulse within the zeitgeist, within entertainment connoisseurs. It gave a new way for people to participate in a thing. So considering that they adjusted the format now to do significant amount of episodes in drop number 1, significant episodes in drop number 2, and then drop number 3, I like the pace to the reveal. And again, I'll make the comparison to old style TV, network TV coming out weekly, or getting your monthly comic book to have that, the anticipation of what will come next, and will things go right, will things go wrong, just the slow burn of it. So format wise, I was completely on board with it. And then for the content wise, let me say, I like the continuing revisitation of 80 staples. So now we're getting into the territory of having a radio station, W Squawk, where we have the full cast of the original 4 young men, and then 11, and then Max, and now the younger siblings and the older siblings are involved, and the supporting cast of adults. So now the roster has blown up in a way similar to Star Wars. You start out with a core of protagonists. I almost said antagonist. You start out with a core of protagonists, and then you get your Admiral Akbar and other supporting players coming in. So it followed a lot of great structures, and it gets tough to have equal slices of pie to divide the screen time or the plot thread time to all the characters. That is an inherent challenge, but I was on board. I was on board with it. Let's go to your same answer to your own question, and then Mandarin's dropping the great comedy, so we'll jump back into comments in a little minute again.
Yeah, I didn't like season 5. That's a short version. I really struggled with the rest of season 5. As much as I feel like the finale redeemed many of the issues that I had with season 5, I had a lot of issues. I think part of the problem that I had as a viewer, it's been a very long time, right? The first season came out a decade ago, literally 10 years ago. And I was rewatching a little bit of clips from season 1, and it's been a very long time. The actors have gotten obviously older by 10 years, basic math. But it's been a very long time, and the gap between season 4 and this one, it made it hard for me to get back into this season and into these characters. I also felt, generally speaking, pacing wise, it was very off. It took a good amount of time for the series to get its footing. I felt like it didn't get its footing until maybe episode 5 or 6, at least for me. Generally speaking, I thought the visual effects were very weak for much of the season, to the detriment of certain episodes. And because you had so many characters here, it reminded me, we're going to get into, I think, other references for this thing. But overall with this season, it reminded me of, what's the name of it? There was the 3rd installment of Jurassic World, the one where you had the Jurassic Park cast, and with Laura Dern and Jeff Goldblum and the gang, and then you had the Chris Pratt group, and you had them going off on their separate directions. There's a lot wrong with that movie more broadly, but in terms of like characters, there were so many people, and because it would often hop between these different, the different story arcs. You got the one-on-ones happening, and they had the big groups, and then other stuff. There were too many people, and I think it was to the detriment of the characters that we first cared about, the original four, because you had the this new group with Holly, and then you got another dozen kids, I think, or
yeah.
So you got all of these other kids or characters, actors in the piece, along with your core group. Yeah, so I think the amount of characters just did not work for me. I think the pacing didn't work for me. I know that other reviews have poked holes in some of the plot holes and things along those lines, but I think pacing, the amount of time, and also the age of some of the actors, where none of these people are in high school. It just sort of, there's nothing you could do about that, but so I really struggled with season 5, and to be honest, in episode 2 or 3, it was just a slog. It was like, I gotta get through it. So I hate to be as negative about the season.
No.
I love the finale. I really
enjoyed to offer different viewpoints.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into the comments a little bit.
Oh boy! All right, so
you have comments about the season, post them in here. But yeah, let's get into the comments. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So going back a little ways, so we had the "What's Up, Homeboy" Mandarin. Yes, thank you. The two-tone is age fitting. Digging the slick hair as offered by Fanboy. Talking about Asian Doctor Strange. There is request for, there it is. The request has been filled. Need Fanboy G to do the eyebrow lift. There's a whole lot of comments on that. Mandarin jumping on that. Happy New Junkyard says, "Happy New Year, Mandy. I really enjoyed the first season, but found the monsters from the Upside Down too campy and derivative and stopped watching mid-season 2. When Junkyard needs to jump out of the yard, so be it." That's again, variety of opinions. We're just here commenting, discussing like we're at recess, discussing like we're at an establishment. I popped the same comment again. Now we have, I would pay money to see the eyebrow lift. The characters look different from the first season. We're getting old. Did they have an explanation for the age gap? I don't think they had an in-story explanation. I think they're just looking for the how you call it, the disbelief, the accepting of the disbelief.
Very much so.
The thing where you just buy into
suspension of disbelief.
Suspension of disbelief. There we have it. And again, there was a lot of eyebrow lift for the fans, and do it, and eye and brow.
Okay.
All right. Well, always the comments have continued. Okay. Well, we were trying. Okay, let's get back to the main business here. Blah blah eyebrow. Never watched Stranger Things, but the daughter. The daughter of the Mandarin. That's a great story right there.
Good.
No idea what's going on. We have
and that's Jam.
All right. Well, welcome. Thanks for the comments.
Yeah.
And Chai-Star G, you crazy man. Okay, so now we've had the side conversation brought into the main conversation, and then returning to the content. So where do we want to steer the ship next?
Well, I do want to get to, maybe let's break it into two halves. There's the first half, because it's what, a 2 hour plus episode, right? So the majority of the episode wraps up the battle against Vecna and the Mind Flayer reveal, all of those elements, and then we got kind of the story after. It's the after part that I enjoyed more than the rest of with the rest of the episode. But let's try. See, I think the more that we talk about it, is the lower that it's going to reduce the number of stars that I've got with this episode. what did you think of Holly here? There's been some criticism on the internet about Holly and the rest of the new characters that were introduced here. What did you think of the Holly arc? She did have more screen time than many of the characters that we first watched in season 1. What did you think of Holly?
So Holly as a character, like, doesn't make sense within the plot. Is Vecna going to go after conglomeration, an establishment of young and vulnerable people to achieve his, the master plot of the master villain? So that makes sense. And then as a kid actor, that's something that I've never done. So I don't have any issues with the performance. I think, the kid showed up to work, executed the job duties in a reasonable, competent, strong fashion. But as you're saying, but once it's in the plot line that Vecna is going to go after a younger set, then by default you're displacing your main 6 characters out of screen time. I did like seeing Holly and Max together. I thought that was really interesting. I liked seeing Mom Wheeler ready to defend her household. So there were a lot of pluses around Holly, and with the baked in issue is that how do you split screen time and focus among so many characters?
I really like the Holly character. I don't understand the criticism about her. I think there is criticism to the Duff brothers of just sort of the balance, right? If you started the series with Will and the gang, and now we're consuming time with this character that's more recently been built up, and then you've got the rest of the kid group. Yeah, I thought the performances were really strong, as you said, broadly with that group. But did you need to have all of them? Did you need to have all of the kids? Right? You didn't hear from all of them because there's only so much time. I would not have wanted to have full story arcs for the 10 or 12 kids that have been added. Then we'd be staring at a season 6 about it. But I didn't understand the volume of characters, and again, that's to the detriment of the rest, the screen time allowed for the rest of the group. But I did like her. I really loved her evolution over this season, where what is it? Mike gives to her that D&D figure, and he calls her Holly the Brave, or right, Holly the Brave, I think. And she truly gets to evolve into that persona, into that person. So I really loved that character. It was just a lot of screen time. Yeah. And post in the comments your feelings about Holly, if you did see this episode, obviously, or the series. But what did you think of Holly as a character? I think generally speaking about the season, and it's good because you had less of it in the finale. My issue with the season is that there felt like a lot of talking and planning. It's like we're gonna okay, so now we gotta get the pie into the hands of this family, and we're gonna drug the family to pass out, and then we're gonna cut a big hole in their dining room so we could trap the demographic. And it was just sort of like a lot of planning. It was like a plan of the plan of the week, plan of the episode. It's just a lot of talking and backstory about the plan. And then you see a bit of the plan. I felt like there was a lot of talking. And so I was glad for the finale that there was less planning and scheming. It was more the execution. Yeah. What did you think? Okay, so you mentioned Mrs. Wheeler and the group. I think with this season, there were a lot of good moments, good character moments, a lot of good fan service character moments. And there's at least a couple with Mrs. Wheeler defending her family. So those were like cool. With but I would have liked a little bit more plot, a little bit more plot, I guess. What did you think? So with regard to the finale, again, we're going into the spoilers here. Nobody dies. Nobody dies, except for one. Maybe.
So, are you saying you needed a higher death count to give verisimilitude and credibility to the series?
Well, when you've got all of the group together, right? And so, what is it? Will, in the prior episode, the penultimate episode, comes out, right, to the broader group, and they have that moment together. Yeah, but you see, oh my goodness, look at all of these people together. There's so many characters here, and they're all going to go into the Upside Down for this battle against Vecna and the Mind Flayer or whatever, so but everybody comes out intact. Okay, I take it back, except for Kali and maybe or maybe not 11. I don't know. Again, this is a moment where, to your phrase, maybe it's a suspension of disbelief, but it felt like, there were no stakes or no sacrifices here. What do you think?
I don't have the Duffers on speed dial. I'm not on a group chat with either of those brothers, so I'm just throwing out possibility. Oh, maybe this, maybe that, as a thing creeps into my head or occurs into my brain. Harry Potter was maybe a generation or a time period before Stranger Things in the real world, in the release dates. High body count in the Harry Potter series. So maybe they're like, all right, well, we don't want to copy Harry Potter with a high body count, so let's go in a different direction, or that could have had nothing to do with it. But I just, I personally didn't feel the need for additional corpses to pile up.
No, yes. Okay. Let me temper my comments. I'm not looking for characters to necessarily to have a death wish or anything like that. I don't feel that. But how about this? I think it's maybe episode 3 or 4 where the Demogorgons are in the army base and the Upside Down. Fine. The soldiers are encircled around the Demogorgon, and they are shooting at each other.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I am not a military tactician at all, but I'm pretty sure you don't circle around and friendly fire each other.
Well,
maybe, but you have, okay, but let's set that aside. That maybe this somehow makes sense. But you have, you have your M16s. You've got your machine guns. You've got other weapons as well. It's not doing anything against the Demogorgons, and yet in the finale, we've got Lucas with napalm water balloons, and it will take down the Mind Flayer 2.0. And Mike with the flare gun.
All I gotta say, that is best use of napalm water balloons and flare gun ever. That's...
Yeah. Okay. And we've got Dustin and Steve right under the big monster, poking its bottom with spears. Yeah, okay. I'm fine. You've got.
Well, they only have so many flare guns to go around.
Yeah. No, but you had the U.S. military unable to defeat the the Demogorgons and demon dogs and whatever the heck else with heavy machinery or with heavy weapons. But we're gonna poke this kaiju level mind flayer with spears, and that'll come on, man.
It was totally kaiju, and all I can say is for the military, I guess they panicked. That wasn't in their training. They were ready to go against guys that looked like them but wearing different colors from a different nation, but they hadn't really prepped for Demogorgons and Demodogs and mind flayers. So they panicked. What can you do? Or maybe even there was a mind control element that set them into the panic or set them against each other.
Yeah, okay. All right. Sure. Let's go with that.
Stated openly. I'm just throwing that out there.
Sure, let's go with that one. All right. Let me ask you, the character of Kali. So
yes,
I really liked her appearance in this series. I'm glad that she was here. I know that there are different feelings about season 2 and that episode where she first appeared. To me, with that episode, I actually liked it because even though it was kind of a side quest of sorts, it stuck out. And it was kind of a different type of storytelling. I don't know who the director was for that episode, but I really enjoyed that. And I liked her character. I liked the other characters that we saw introduced in that episode. And there was kind of no payoff for that. We never saw them again until we see Kali in this episode. She does die in this episode. Felt a little bit rushed of sorts there, but what did you think of the Kali character?
Well, again, there's the screen time across characters issue, but I thought within the plot, within the story, it makes good sense to me to have somebody who's of that other perspective. Like she didn't have the same group connection to all the rest of the main characters, right? There was a connection between Kali and 11, but then Kali was, so long isolated, so long separated, so didn't have, I would say, the same participation in hope and belief that, hey, we can do this. So as far as a more realistic, a more grounded viewpoint, but definitely not a going against all odds, we can do this kind of a philosophy from Kali. But again, you want your protagonists to have conflicting viewpoints, so that adds in ingredients as to which way it gives you more to think about, which way are things going to get resolved.
Yeah, as a device, or as somebody who could continue 11 on her own personal journey, she was essential in this season to have that connection, to have the battle against their brother Vecna or Henry here. She was really key and essential. And we have a comment from the junkyard here. Yeah, I really liked Kali, and yeah, and then she was poof, she was gone. So let's get into, I think, one of the fundamental questions here, and post in the comments of your feeling on this one. Is 11 dead? Did 11 die?
Well, a lot of our people in our chat haven't actually seen the show. So as we are live, I don't know how many comments we're going to get toward that. And I'll say, for somebody who's watching us not live, feel free to
post in the comments, please.
Post-game comments, if you will. I'm going to say, here's my opportunity. So we know there were a lot of 80s materials referenced. You got your Steven Spielberg and your Stephen King, and a lot of culmination of things. There were multiple sources drawn from to bring together the body of Stranger Things. So as I'm sitting there watching let's say the very end of the action, right? Then there was a extended in a good way epilogue where you got to have the resolution of the characters interacting with each other after the top action. But so I'm going to go back to.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's go to X-Men, the one shot here.
One shot it up. X-Men 137. The Fate Phoenix Must Die. So the character of Jean Grey, sometimes known as Marvel Girl, sometimes known as Jean Grey, other times the embodiment of the Phoenix, had powers similar to 11. We're talking telekinetics. We're talking telepathy. We're talking, okay, so there's similarities between the character of 11 and the characters of Jean Grey. So right here, going back to 1980, you get the power of the Phoenix was too much for Jean Grey to handle. So within the, spoilers now for a comic book from 1980, right? So Jean sacrificed herself right there on the moon. Similarly, 11 sacrificed herself. We can go back to Two Shot.
Yeah.
So I'm just, from the first seconds I'm looking at it, that was my reference point that, 11 is following the similar path to Jean Grey. So now first, let me go in clean and then let me muddy things up. So as I understand it, as was the case as of X-Men 138, Jean Grey was dead. Dead was dead. As I understand it, 11 is dead. Now, in the epilogue, it was such a great storytelling from the Dungeon Master, from Mike Wheeler, about what he would like to believe and say that, because, hey, what we choose to believe, it can very often be a big deal. And I can see why he would choose that belief system. So now, to go in clean, so 11's dead, the series is over. But 4, Jean Grey and other characters have come back out of the grave in fictional work many a time. Does that mean the possibility will come down the road where 11 will be revealed as not wiped out? Sure, that possibility exists. But just as we sit here today in January of 2026, 11's dead. It's over. That's the series finale. That's the season finale. That's the conclusion. How do you go at it?
So in the lead up to this moment where she appears to sacrifice herself, you kind of knew that something was coming. All of the gang are in the truck or the other vehicle. They're having this joyous moment together, right? And then you just sort of know, okay, something's coming. Something is going to come here. And they go across, right? They go through the portal. Their tires are slashed. You know that, oh crap, something is going to go down. When the moment happens with 11, well, I did like the moment between Mike and 11. I did like that moment together. I guess that's their second kiss ever in the season and in the entire series, I think. So I did like the moment between them. But when she disappears, I had some questions. I felt like, oh, this doesn't feel real. It reminded me of, and so now other movie references, it reminded me of kind of like what's the short list of characters who die because of a tornado or other cataclysmic weather event. And so it reminded me of like Kevin Costner in Man of Steel.
Oh yeah.
Right. And just sort of disappears or the I had another one, but it just sort of disappears. And you contrast that with, say, Day After Tomorrow with what's the name? Day After Tomorrow with Dennis Quaid and one of the Jake Gyllenhaal. There's weather events and it's really gruesome. It's kind of terrible. People getting frozen alive and things along those lines. And so when she just sort of disappears, it's like, oh, okay, that was the convenient way, the PG way of handling 11's apparent death. But I didn't like it as much. It felt more artificial. And so when we're hearing the story being told of how she could still be alive. It resonated for me. Like, okay, that seemed like an less believable way for her to go out, or the way that was rendered on screen. It kind of didn't look great. And so, yeah, it made sense to me that maybe this was all of an artificial vision created by Kali.
I'll give you that in a tradition of murder mystery and all the other genres intermixed with murder mystery. If there's no body, then you're not necessarily having a dead character. But now, Chai-Star popping some, I didn't consider it in these terms, but 11 is Eric Draven from The Crow. Maybe there is an Eric Draven reincarnation. I'm not dead, I'm coming back kind of an element there. Good call, Chai-Star.
All right, so I've been asking you a lot of questions, Mr. C. Maybe before we go more into that second, or the back, was it 2/5 of the show? What did you think? Other things you want to call out about the battle against the Mind Flayer? That portion of
the battle's the battle. I have so let me throw this question. So right throughout season 5, at any point in season 5, we said there's a lot of characters, there's a lot of character interaction. Is there like a subtle, nuanced, poignant moment of character interaction? Not necessarily either full group character interaction or maybe smaller band. So like, for example, Dustin and Steve the Hare Harrington are in total conflict. They're arguing with each other. And to me, that had a very real vibe to it, because then after the heat of the emotion comes out, then the person can say, well, the reason I'm being this way is because this is my fear, or this is my concern. Dustin relating, he can't lose Steve the way he lost Eddie. I thought there were many smaller set interactions like that were really well done. Do you have a standout moment from anywhere through season 5 like that for you, where it was 2 or 3 characters that had a real legit communication between each other?
Well, I'll tell you, with that example though, that one I didn't like actually, because earlier in the season, there's the conflict between Steve and Dustin, where Steve is really being oddly a jerk, right? That it's Eddie's own fault that he got himself killed, that he actually didn't save anything here. And given how he's been that dad character for the group from the beginning, it seemed artificially out of character. I didn't understand why he was being that way. Maybe there was some weird resentment about Eddie as if Eddie was taking Steve's place, but in season 4 or something along those lines. But I really didn't understand that characterization. And so when they do come together, yes, I did like that for sure. And I did like Steve's interaction with Derek. But delightful Derek, right? But yeah, I didn't understand why they had set up that conflict. It didn't make sense to me, really. Yeah.
Well, maybe Steve was reverting to his season 1 selfish guy, looking out for his own interests in one way or another, kind of a personality. Maybe Steve couldn't handle the pressure of all the trauma of going through all this interdimensional battling monsters kind of a business, or maybe it was a stretch and he reverted away from being the cool, supportive older person. So yeah.
Not in the excuse me. Not in the finale, but earlier in the season, there's the moment between Jonathan and Nancy Wheeler, where they, reconcile their feelings as a couple. And I kind of struggle. So are they getting together? Are they not together? No, they're not together. But the way that it was handled was, I think, unique and a nice form of closure. and allowed them to still be friends. So I did like that, even though maybe execution wise I was struggling with where are we going with this, but I did like them, even though they didn't have a lot of screen time. I did like them in the series. Yes.
Yeah, and I think that had that kernel of realism in there that, you're a person is in a romantic relationship for a certain amount of time, and then as both people age and have a different value system or different priority or different what have you, then it's time to hey, it was a good run while it was a run, but then all good things, if I can go to the cliche route, come to an end.
Indeed. Other things before we get to 18 months later.
No, let's go 18 months later, and then I just want to leave myself a mental note. Yeah. I have a Winona Ryder thought, but that's more of a that's not for this moment. That's for later on in our.
The 18 months later felt longer than 18 months. It was a little surprising how quickly the Hawkins had transformed itself into small town America. The military is gone. The metal plates are gone. Everything is kind of back to normal. It was a little surprising and jarring how quickly things went back to seemingly normalcy. It's amazing how Hopper is not in federal maximum security prison for murdering or killing so many soldiers over the past 4.5 or 4.9 seasons, but whatever. It's this 18 months later piece that, while it was very long, I enjoyed the most out of the finale. It reminded me, Mr. C, of Stand By Me on a few levels. When we have the moment, and two specific elements. One is, and I think we talked about this in our text thread with each other, on the radio station, right? On this roof of the radio station, you've got the four or five together. They're just commiserating. They're talking, and I think it's Jonathan, or maybe it's Robin. It's Robin who talks about the types of friends that she has, right? And how none of those bonds feel as strong as the friends that she had with them, right? With this group. And it's an element, I think it's in the final two sentences of Stand By Me, where the narrator, Richard Dreyfuss, talks about the bonds that you have in middle school, in childhood, in high school, and how strong those are. And how the relationships that you have later, not necessarily better or worse, they're just different. But the bonds are just so unique, I think. I thought that was a really wonderful reflection or rendition of that theme. I thought that was great.
I completely agree. And again, of all the things that were pulled or revisited or reworked into the Duffer Brothers' current work, that quote will randomly pop up into my head somewhat frequently about, at the keyboard winding down the movie. And there is definitely age specific, era specific thing about the friends you have at that age and how things do change.
No, absolutely. And then the second part is how it ended. And man, I tell you, they could not have picked a more perfect setting to wrap up the show. It ends as it began, right? In the very first episode of season 1, the way that we are introduced to the main four characters is they're playing Dungeons and Dragons. Four.
Yep.
Yeah. So they're playing Dungeons and Dragons together. And so how does it end? Now with the slightly expanded group, they're playing Dungeons and Dragons again, and they're putting the books up on the shelf. Just sheer perfection to remember that and to decide to, and there's more that we could say about that setting here as well. But before I lose it, that Stand By Me callback, the thing that another element that I loved about that movie is how you got to hear the stories of each of the four characters here. What happened with them? The tragedy of one dying, the Corey Feldman character, right, who dies in Vietnam afterwards. Just wonderful how they and so how it was handled in that D&D type of way. Absolute brilliance. I love that immensely.
I completely agree, and I like how that was a counterpoint to I'm not sure which season, but where you're using the song by The Who, the confidential remix of Baba O'Reilly, which was a brilliant remix in its own right, but then paired to Teenage Wasteland, the lyrics Teenage Wasteland within the song Baba O'Reilly, and the concept of being in a teenage wasteland, and how at that time the voiceover quote was whatever they said exactly. Did you think we were just going to stay in the basement forever playing D&D like it was time to grow up? So again, there's a push and a pull. There's certain elements, certain things need to be shedded as we age, and then other things we can come back and revisit after the fact. And we're speaking Keenan on the 12-year-old stuff, but then also like in any coming of age movie, there's heading off to college, or let me even stretch it up to Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker had to get off the farm to go become a Jedi. So yeah. The final scene, the door of the basement is closed. Luke gets on the Millennium Falcon, right? It's a way of moving on.
Yeah. Yes. The setting was great. The closing of the door was just brilliant. And then how you see the Holly and then her own band of friends coming together to play D&D, just wonderful. So what else to say about the final setting? Yeah, so to hear the little vignettes of each one of the characters was great. And I think it put a good closure to this iteration of Stranger Things. I understand that there is a spin-off that's coming that I think is going to be about Vecna, or the rock, the mystery rock, where we didn't hear what happened, right, with the mystery rock. Maybe a little bit of a cheat. Okay. No, I'm going to continue my thoughts before I get distracted by my own thought, by the side tangent. I think it's good where it ended. I don't need to continue to see these characters again. I would not be surprised if we saw them again 10 years from now or something in the future. And actually, with the introduction of those new characters, if this was the thing, although I don't think it's supposed to be the thing, you could easily see Stranger Things taking place in the 90s.
Yes.
Right? I mean, this is probably a obvious money grab of sorts, but to stretch out the series longer than it needs to be. But it seems like an obvious setting. It's 1989, and that's great for you and I, right? But it's 1989. You're on the cusp of the 90s, so you've truly wrapped up this time period. You could see a future where it includes. Man, I feel bad about Lucas's sister, along with Holly and everybody else. You could see a story arc that included them and all the nostalgia and stuff that you can strewn out about the 90s. You could see that.
Sort of a next generation.
Yeah. Stranger Things, the next generation. It's even ST there, right? Yes, it's true. You could truly stretch it out even further.
Which brings us to Junkyard's comment then, and I'm not sure if Junkyard is trying to rattle our cage or if he's got a legit source on this, but the Tuffers are moving to Paramount. Stranger Things, Star Trek crossover. Here we go. Man.
Yeah. Could be.
And you get some whales, and you got Spock on the bus taking the guy out with his. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Yes.
Other things about the finale.
All right. So let me go. Right.
What you got?
I'm saying we learned from the Avengers in the following way. Thor regretted that he didn't take the headshot, that he didn't go to clip Thanos in a way that might have been more effective because, again, Avengers spoilers, because Thanos had survived. Winona Ryder, as Mom Byers, didn't make that same mistake as Thor. She had the axe. There's Vecna on the pike. And like to me, both action-wise and emotion-wise, that was such a great sequence because, again, talking about parents looking to protect their kids, talking about as was such a common theme in 80s movies and not exclusive to the 80s, but the idea of revenge, or the idea of I've been provoked, I've been imposed upon, so now I'm going to reclaim my territory. But Winona Ryder with the axe, taking it to Vecna on the pike like that, to me was such a great sequence. I enjoyed that greatly.
It was so satisfying. You are right. You are right, sir. Yeah, I completely agree with you. Yeah, very satisfying conclusion. And I'm glad that was Winona Ryder who was the person to swing the axe here. That was tremendously satisfying. I'll tell you though, it did jog my feeling. Oh yeah, there was such a high body count for the previous 4.5 seasons, right? Barb gets a flashback for what, a fraction of a second here. So there's justice for Barb after 10 years, so that's good. Sean Astin, I don't remember his character's name, but yeah, it was great to see him here reminded, and she's able to get justice for them, but by beheading Vecna. So yeah, that was tremendously satisfying and very kind of 80s, and the matriarch or the strong character like a Sigourney Weaver or something like that being the one to be the one swinging the axe. Yeah, that was cool. That was cool. Oh no, yeah. Yeah, so good questions. For me, there is a lot of K-pop Demon Hunters content that I want to do on this channel, not on your channel, but on the Fanboy Cantina channel. Yeah, I did see on somewhere on social media where they had put on what it sounds like on top of the Mind Flayer final battle, and so yeah, that was pretty funny. Yeah. Other thoughts about the finale episode, or if you're still watching, if you got comments, post it in here, or afterwards. Again, if you're not live, your thoughts about the finale, post it on here. Other things that we ought to cover, Mr. C.
Well, oughta or not oughta, I just want to also make mention that I did an unboxing or an unbagging as a short on my channel, and I just I'll make this bridge now. So the main mascot of the radio station seemed to be a hawk or an eagle, and really I don't know if even it made much screen time, if any at all. But in their product, Chai Star is the last viewer standing. Well, there's a couple other people around Chai Star, but yeah. Anyway, so just I put a short on my channel that I wanted to pitch. They did a WSQK radio station, Rubber Chicken.
Let's go to the one shot if we could.
Get right in there. WSQK. He doesn't squeak though, but he's a rubber chicken. All right, Stranger Things. Here we go. So feel free to watch my short if you have yet to watch it over there on the Mr. C Dives In. Would have been room for more. Okay, I know we already said about dividing up the screen time, but would have been room for more rubber chickens to make it onto the actual screen. I say that in jest.
Yeah. So Mr. C, I am glad that I watched the episode, the season. I'm glad that I watched Stranger Things as an overall franchise. As much as there's been criticism, so I've heard the references or the analogies to like Game of Thrones, where there are people who with season 5 have very strong and negative feelings about it. I don't feel like, though, for me at least, that it was like Game of Thrones necessarily, where why are characters doing certain things? Why is it landing this way? It seems like it took the convenient way out. I don't feel like with this season that it will diminish the rest of the Stranger Things franchise. It's not like, and I don't think necessarily people feel this way about Lost, but people have very strong feelings about the finale episode of that show and the final season of that one. That one, so I think with Stranger Things, overall, still a great time. I do have more fondness for the earlier seasons than this season for sure. But it doesn't detract from my fandom of Stranger Things. For you, I think, Mr. C, it's all good. You had a good time, generally speaking, with season 5 and certainly with the finale. So, yeah.
Most definitely.
What's your take on what do you think may be the legacy of Stranger Things
here? Yes, that, and all of a sudden I got popcorn again. Having so many cool character moments between the first 4 young men and 11, and then adding in Max. Just the legacy, I guess, is a lot of cool, enjoyable throwbacks to other things, and being able to participate in it now. I think, okay, so here, let's go this then for legacy, right? So Prince was used in the soundtrack, in the story line of the final episode. Mm-hmm. So, right. And there is a younger group in the world now, a younger cohort that had not really had exposure to Prince in the 80s or 90s or what have you. So something about the downloads or the visits for Prince's music catalog skyrocketed after that, in a similar way to Kate Bush and Running Up the Hill. So part of the legacy is to expose great music of different genres to an audience that hadn't yet received it. See, there's just so many different pieces in the legacy. This is maybe a whole other, not that we'll schedule, not that we'll actually do a whole other show or a whole other conversation. I think there are a great many treasures in the treasure box that qualify as the legacy for this. It was fun. Again, a mix of horror and adventure and a lot of positive legacy is left here.
Yeah, I think so. I've waffled in my feeling about the nostalgia. I think overall it was the right level. I think it was the right level of nostalgia. Sometimes when you've got nostalgia, it's like a cheat. It's just a cop out. Like we're gonna have forced references to 80s movies or other things, and like ha ha ha, you got the. I feel like it was the right level of nostalgia in this show. You did have to in this season. You did have to suspend your disbelief of, okay, we're gonna make a time bomb based on the runtime of a Prince song, as opposed to maybe a Beehole Surfers song. We're gonna, sure, all right, the fate of the world is at stake, but let's make a timer based on a record player. And you and I are old enough to have had records. It meant the fate of the world is going to depend on the record not skipping.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Like, oh, I don't know if I would do that. I don't know what your record collection looks like. I know what mine looked like in the 80s. And yeah, my Tiffany, I think we're alone now, 45 single, probably got a lot of runtime where it's going to skip. And we're all going to die because I picked the wrong 45.
The technology of the era.
Yeah, the technology of the 80s. But yeah, whatever. Yeah. And to end with Prince, and they must have paid a pretty penny to be able to use those songs, right? Yeah, it was the right. They ended on the right note, Mr. C. Yeah.
So this is a nuanced thing, but spontaneous question comes to me now. So it's no stranger that you spent some college years in the college radio station. So did seeing the W Squawk Studios do anything special, specific for you? Did you have any insider appreciation of that, or was it more just like here's another set within the greater aspect of the show?
I think nobody in college radio had a facility that looked as good as that one. No, it doesn't exist. Thanks for bringing that one up. Post in the comments if you were in college radio, did your station look like that one in the 80s or 90s or even today? And I'll bet you the answer is no. In my day, I referred to it as the music closet because pretty much we were spinning records in the closet of my college. Yeah. So what a lovely facility that they had, and we did have the 8-track thing. It wasn't an 8-track. It was something else, but it was essentially an 8-track. These tracks that you shove in, you press the button. Sometimes they work or not, and then more often than not, I pressed the wrong button. So that resonated for me. It's like, yeah, that's exactly what I would do. But it was fun. It was a fun little bit of nostalgia of being in college radio and that feeling at that time.
Well, and you weren't really rivals, you weren't really competitors, you weren't really airing against each other. But Junkyard also having his own college radio show at the time, a very different setup than your setup. But as a guest hosted with Junkyard at his invitation back in the day, yeah, I will concur that college radio facilities, nice as they are for what they are, didn't have the Netflix budget behind them to create the Rockin' Robin DJ booth.
There was natural light in their booth. There was a window. I mean, oh my goodness, there was a window. Yeah, we were literally in the basement of a dorm. Right? It's just and then even after it moved, I think it was still, there were no windows in this thing. So wow, you got you could see stuff. You can see whether it's nighttime or daytime outside. Wow, what a country. Yeah, that was good. Do you think that in reality, Steve, Nancy, and the gang, are they getting back together?
I want them to, but as we know, right, then you're in different groups and different polls, and maybe they intend it to be once, right? So what are the different possibilities? That's the last time they'll ever see each other at all, period. Or they will hit once a month for a while and then change to something else, or they'll intermittently get together and then things will fade out. But then, so if our connection here, as we're sitting here on YouTube, is a legitimate example of a possibility, right? There is entirely the possibility that they will either intermittently get together or maybe possibly one day be back in a regular basis connection after having diverted paths for some time.
Yeah, I wonder how this aspect of it lands generationally speaking for us, as being a bit older, being in Gen X and having experienced that the 80s for real, right? Having lived through that time period, I think we look at that moment a little differently, right? Because the reality of life. You have families, you have kids. They mentioned, those aspects in the future, the relationships aspects. They're geographically in different places, right? So it's harder to convene together to Hawkins, Indiana, or I think it's Indiana, right? Or trying to get close to NYU to see Jonathan and his movie. It's geographically really hard to do. So there's a bit of wistfulness of looking at that moment, like, Yeah, I don't. I want you to still come together. I want those bonds to still remain intact. But the reality of life is that that's very hard. Whereas I think if you're maybe younger, maybe this is the series that you grew up with, right? Maybe you started watching this as a teenager or your early teens, and now you're, 10 years older, you're in your 20s. Now, I think it may land a little bit differently that moment. So I'm very curious, generationally speaking, how that moment lands and what do you think is going to happen to those characters? Yeah. I really love Robin, Maya Hawke as a character. I hope to see more of her in other things in the future. She was so much, I think, the energy, the thing that kept this overall season moving forward, and just sort of that energy and youthfulness. Even though I think she's one of the older actors in this series, I really loved her as a character and as an actor, and I hope to see her in more things going forward. Certainly, being the daughter of Uma Thurman and Ethan Hawke.
Doesn't hurt.
Wow, amazing, right? But I hope to see her more.
So, as we had noted earlier, for Steve being in the role of older friend, or older brother, older cousin, just slightly older mentor friend type of a role, so too did Robin participate in that role, and very pivotal for a young Will Byers on his path to self-acceptance for his sexuality. We would have been remiss if we did not come to acknowledge that, but that was absolutely an important arc in the show too. And again, to go, here's a little kid who was kidnapped, who was held in another dimension in this fictional way, and had every reason to try to hide himself and everything about himself, and so probably intended by the Duffers, both as he took ownership of his own emotions and his own experience and his own needs, also rose into his prime of then in the fictional setting of his powers, where he was able to combat and go against his oppressor. So hey, that's all. There's all kinds of criticisms and acknowledgments of Stranger Things season 5, but to me that's a completely significant, noteworthy, and enjoyable and relevant and prevalent part of the show.
Absolutely. It was alluded to, I think, in the previous 2 seasons, right? What is happening there? What are his feelings to other characters that we see here, and how is that going to be handled? The embrace that all of his friends and family do in the penultimate episode, really, really great. Feels a little bit like, did he need to come out in order to realize his full true powers as a character? I don't know, but if there's an allegory there of being one's true self and fully embracing that and coming out, I think that's great. I think it's a wonderful, wonderful message, and I think it was handled in a good, an appropriate way. It didn't feel inauthentic or clunky. I thought it was really well done. Yeah, so good call out there, Mr. C.
All right, let's head to our future forecasting, because Chai-Star G has a question that he traditionally hits us up with. But as Animals and Legos being a first-time commenter, thanks for coming through. And whether it was Anna S, I'm trying to find the rest of the comment. Thank
you for joining.
Thank you for coming through. Mandarin, as always, we appreciate you. Chai-Star. It's either Anas Jamil or Anna S. Jamil. Welcome to hanging out with us. Mandarin, Chai-Star, and Junkyard, of course, always welcome around. I'm seeing if Chai-Star is going to drop the comment in the comments, but it's definitely on the t-shirts. Here it is. When is the next live stream?
Yeah. Well, I think for me, they're not that often. I just don't do them as much as you do. I do want to do I'm thinking about doing it today, not a live stream, but I'm thinking about doing it today. My favorite 5 movies of 2025 and my least favorite movies of 2025. Although I looked on my content list, apparently you and I did a live stream on this 11 months ago. So apparently we did it together. So we could try to do that. I think I got in my head of kind of what I want to rattle off about it, especially with the worst 5.
Maybe we do a mixed format of letting that be the conversation during an eating of Chicago staple food. Maybe, or maybe they're separate. We can discuss that off. Of course, Chai-Star is putting in its pick for K-pop Demon Hunters.
Yes, that's a lot of content I've got on deck. But yeah, what do you got?
I'm looking to very soon, and I had to reschedule because I wasn't feeling all the way healthy, but I got to get Jim Campbell on my airwaves to discuss before he closes the Alex Ross exhibit at the Dunn Museum, because Jim Campbell had the good fortune to be there the same night Alex Ross was there, opening night. So he has more content, more experience of it than the rest of us did. But that, in short, really cool exhibit to see the Alex Ross material. But now I want to stay within the superhero ways. And this is, I hope Mandy is still Campbell Soup. Open that can up. Perfect, Chai-Star. If Mandy's still with us, or if Mandy's not still with us, soon to come to Disney Plus will be the Wonder Man character from the Avengers in his first full on-screen interpretation. And if we go to IMDb, we can see who is Wonder Man going to go against. And there is a certain character, also a man of mystery, played by Ben Kingsley, who maybe just an actor, or maybe the Mandarin in the role of an actor, or maybe the actual Mandarin. I was hoping Mandarin will join us when we get a minute in the future when it comes out to check out Wonder Man versus the Mandarin.
Yeah, that's good. That's coming quickly at us. I'm looking forward to it. I will absolutely watch it. You know, Mr. C, we've talked about it off and on. I think there is like a not a morning radio aspect, but we could have banter about random ish kind of topics from time to time. That would be fun. And Wonder Man could be one of those topics in the future.
Absolutely.
All right, I think that's going to wrap it up for us, Mr. C.
Chai-Star getting in his last words. Another show he'll forget to watch. Absolutely. But all right. Hey, it's Bears versus Packers tonight in the playoffs. Svenguli's got on a Skull movie tonight. There's plenty of good stuff in a post-Stranger Things kind of a world. More good stuff to come in the future from the Fanboy channel. Hopefully I'll have some decent good stuff coming around to dive into. Thanks, everybody, for coming to hang out with us.
Awesome. Thanks so much, everybody. Take care. Go Bears. Do us all the YouTube-y things. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, all of those YouTube things. Take care. Thanks so much.